When a government or an administration puts forth a policy that takes away our civil liberties, and our name, the United States, does things that we are fundamentally against as a nation, then every person that doesn't stand up and scream, "Stop it, don't do this to my country," is complicit.
Do you believe, understand, and live by the Constitution of the United States? If not, you should. This information is very important to all U.S. citizens. Allow us to explain some basic information about government. There are two main schools of thought. One is to have as little government control as possible, and the other is to have total government control over every aspect of human life. Then there are many positions in between those two schools of thought, which is where we find most Americans. Let's first consider total government control. The government makes decisions and laws and uses force or punishment for those who do not abide. This type of government is called totalitarian, and heads of this type of government are called kings, tyrants, emperors, dictators, and warlords. Before 1788, most all governments were of this type. There were some modified versions of totalitarian government, such as in England, where they had a parliament that enables some input from a group called lords and some representation for the common people. In reality, the king ruled with guidance from his advisors, and most of the people obeyed his laws. In 1788, 7 years after the Revolutionary War, the Constitution of the United States was approved and accepted by the sovereign states and became the law of our country. Our Constitution was very different from any government in the world because it was based on having very little government. The federal government was then charged with the responsibility to protect the people's unalienable rights, given from our Creator, along with 17 other specific tasks outlined in the Constitution. The people of the United States were not only free and well organized, they were also protected from their own government through the Constitution. By 1905, 117 years later, the United States had become the most prosperous nation in the world. What does this tell us? When people are free from totalitarian government, they're happier, personally successful, prosperous, and have a greater standard of living through advances in technology, science, medicine, and arts. The people's responsibility under our Constitution is to be law-abiding, to elect good, honest people with wisdom, intelligence, and experience in many diverse fields. People with a great appreciation and understanding of the principles used to formulate our United States Constitution. Imagine if all citizens understood the Constitution and would elect representatives who upheld the Constitution. Unfortunately, that's not how it is. But it can be. Article 6 requires our representatives to be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter. So help me God. Therefore, the laws passed are required to be constitutional. But are they? Here's a simple rule to follow. Any law passed which allows our government to do something that you as an individual don't have the right to do, that law is unconstitutional. The only rights you can delegate to your representatives are the unalienable rights you have, not the rights you don't have. You don't have the right to take possessions from one group of people and give them to another. That is stealing.
Are we seeing socialism in America now? It's unbelievable how much socialism there is in America. It seems that people don't realize that government can't steal. The 10 Commandments, the 8th commandment doesn't say, "Thou shalt not steal unless you gang up on your neighbor." Then you can through legislation. And so Frederick Bastiat said it beautifully. He said that law should be the collective organization of the individual right to lawful defense. The individual right. So a group of people does not have the right, even if they call themselves a government, no matter how big the group is, to take someone's property and give it to someone else. And it doesn't need to, because it has the power to create money. So all government spending could be funded by simply retaining that precious power to create money without taxation, without the need to borrow. We We see a lot of theft going on, and I think it's easy for honest people to understand that a group of people should never have the right to take from one who earned it, and give to another. The only redistribution of wealth that would be constitutional, I believe, is the assets acquired through fractional banking and through the creation of money by the shareholders of the Federal Reserve. I think the government would have the constitutional power to redistribute that wealth, but then it should go back to the Treasury and then be distributed amongst the taxpayers and the taxpayers' parents and their parents or forefathers who have paid taxes. And it should be interest and penalties attached. There should be interest and penalties attached to that refund. So that would be the only constitutional redistribution of wealth that I could imagine. But it would be a tremendous amount. It could help us prosper tremendously. We would see an industrial and economic and prosperity revolution like the world has never seen because of the technologies we have and the resources we have. It would be unbelievable. The headlines would be, instead of 8.5% unemployment or more, it would be along the lines of, wow, another great business had to close its doors because everyone's working and there aren't enough people to go to work because everyone has jobs already. So it would be a great place.